Hello, welcome to the review lesson on graphing linear equations. If you have any additional questions on graphing linear equations, please feel free to add a question to the lesson page on the website. You can access additional information by going to the resource tab and looking up the videos on Khan Academy talking about each specific subtopic. First, we're going to take a look at the pick and plot graphing method. So to graph an equation, pick three x values, plug them in to find the corresponding y values, and then plot the 3 points. Now, technically, we only need 2 points to draw a line, but by choosing 3, we get a more accurate representation of the line on the coordinate plane. So we want to graph the linear equation y equals 2x minus 3. So first off, I'm going to pick 3 x values. I'm going to choose -1, 0, and +1. Those are easy values to plug in, so I can do that rather quickly. I'm going to plug it into my equation y equals 2x minus 3 for the x variable. So I get y equals 2 times -1 minus 3. That's going to be y equals -2 minus 3, which is -5. So the point on the coordinate plane is going to be -1 for x and -5 for y. Next, I'm going to plug in 0 for x. Y equals 2 times 0 minus 3. 2 times 0 is 0, so 0 minus 3 is -3. The x value is 0, the y value is -3. Last, I'm going to plug in +1 for x. Y equals 2 times 1 minus 3. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 3 is -1, so I get the point +1, -1. Now let's go to the coordinate plane. Remember that the x values go along the horizontal axis and the y values go along the vertical axis. So in the ordered pair, -1, -5. -1 moves 1 space to the left, and -5 moves 5 spaces down, and we get a point right where you see it. Next, we have the point 0, -3. 0 for x means I do not move horizontally. -3 for y means I move down 3. So my y-intercept is at -3. For the last point, it's at 1, -1. 1 for x means move to the right 1 value, and then -1 for y means move down 1 space. So we take our ruler, line up the 3 points, and draw a line. Next, we're going to take a look at horizontal versus vertical lines. So if I want to graph the linear equation y equals 3, here, it doesn't matter what x equals. There's nowhere to plug in an x value, therefore, whatever x is, it doesn't change the fact that y is equal to 3. So if x is -1, y is going to be 3. If x is 0, y is still going to be 3. If x is 1, y is still going to equal 3. So you can see that our lines line up horizontally, and so we get a horizontal line. That means that anytime we have an equation y equals a number, it will always be a horizontal line. Now let's take a look at graphing the equation x equals -2. Here, there's nothing to determine what y will be. Therefore, it doesn't matter what y is. If y is +1, x is going to be -2. If y is +2, x is still going to be -2. And if y is +3, x is still going to be -2. So we can line up those 3 points with our ruler, and we see that we get a vertical line. So anytime we have the equation x equals a number, it's always going to be a vertical line crossing the x-axis at that value. All right, now let's go ahead and look at graphing using intercepts. Here's an example of the x and y intercept. The x-intercept is where we cross the x-axis, and the y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. So the x-intercept is a point. It is a location on the coordinate plane, therefore it has to have an x value and a corresponding y value. In this case, our x value is whatever number it crosses the x-axis at, and our y value is always going to be 0. This is where the line intersects the x-axis. For our y-intercept, the x value is 0. The y value is whatever numerical value it crosses the y-axis at. So let's go ahead and find the x and y intercepts for the following equation. 2x plus 5y is equal to 20. So first, I'm going to go ahead and find my x-intercept. When I find my x-intercept, y has to equal 0. When I find my y-intercept, x has to equal 0. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for y in the equation. So I get 2x plus 5 times 0 is equal to 20. 5 times 0 is 0. If I add 0, it doesn't change the value, so it's the idea of canceling. It just gets absorbed and doesn't change anything. So we end up with 2x is equal to 20. Divide both sides by 2, and I get x is equal to 10. This is not my answer. When I want to find the x-intercept, it is a point. It is a location, so I need to represent my answer as a point. This is the point 10, 0. The x value is 10, the y value is 0. Let's go ahead and take a look at finding the y-intercept. Here we have x equal to 0. So I'm going to plug x equals 0 into the equation. We get 2 times 0 plus 5y is equal to 20. 2 times 0 is 0. When I add 0, it doesn't change the value, so that essentially cancels. That gives us 5y is equal to 20. We're going to divide both sides by 5, and we get the y value is equal to 4. Again, this is not my answer. The y-intercept is a location on the coordinate plane, so I need to represent it as a point. So the point on the coordinate plane is going to be 0, 4. When we take a look at graphing using the intercepts, to graph an equation, we want to first find the intercepts and then line our ruler up where those dots are and connect the two. So if we want to graph the linear equation 2x plus 5y equals 20, we already found our intercepts were at 10, 0 and 0, 4. So on the coordinate plane, the point 10, 0 is on the x-axis. The point 0, 4 is on the y-axis. Here I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to line up the 2 points, and I'm going to draw a line between. Remember that lines do go on forever, so I want to extend it past the intercepts and draw arrows on either side. Next, let's take a look at slope-intercept form. Slope is like a staircase. So for a staircase, we have both a rise and a run. So we see that vertical movement and that horizontal movement. That vertical movement, that horizontal movement. Rise compared to run. So when I'm taking a look at slope, right, if we have a slope of 2 over 3, that means that my rise is going to be 2 and my run is going to be 3. So the numerator of our slope is our vertical movement. The denominator of our slope is our horizontal movement. If I have a slope of negative 5 over 6, my vertical movement is going to go down 5, so the rise is negative 5. The run is positive 6. If I have a slope of negative 4, when we have a whole number, we can always write it as a fraction with a denominator of 1. So we have negative 4 is equal to negative 4 over 1. So if I'm looking for my slope, we are going to go down 4 and over to the right 1. When we're looking at slope-intercept form, we are trying to find y by itself. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. We call it slope-intercept form because the m in the equation is the slope, and the b in the equation is the y-intercept. These two parts give us a starting point, the y-intercept, and a direction to go, which is the slope. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next graphing method, which is the staircase method, also known as using the slope. So we want to go ahead and plot the y-intercept, which is at 0, b, and then use the slope m to create the staircase, which is the direction that the line is going. So we want to graph the equation y equals 2/3 x plus 4. My y-intercept is at 0, 4, and my slope is 2/3. So I'm going to go ahead and start at the y-intercept, which is along the y-axis up at 4. My slope is up 2 and then to the right 3. So I'm going to go up 2 spaces, to the right 3 spaces, up 2 spaces, to the right 3 spaces. Once I have 3 points, I'm going to go ahead and line up my ruler with those 3 points, draw a line, and we're done. Next example, let's go ahead and write an equation in slope-intercept form from a line with slope 3/4 that passes through the point 8, 5. Now this would be useful so that we have an equation of the line. Remember that in order to graph, all we need is a starting point and a slope. So given the information you have here, you could start at the point 8, 5 and use the slope to actually graph the line. From the point 8, 5, you would go up 3 to the right 4. Then up 3 to the right 4, line up your ruler, and draw in the line. But let's go ahead and find the equation in slope-intercept form. Now we want to use y equals mx plus b. We know that the slope is 3/4 and that a point that is on the line, an x value and a y value, is equal to 8, 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug m into my equation, and I'm going to plug my x and my y value in accordingly. So y is 5, m is 3/4, x is 8, and then we have plus b. So let's go ahead and solve for b. Now I want to multiply 3/4 times 8. So 8 joins 3 in the numerator. So I have 5 is equal to 24 over 4 plus b. 24 over 4 simplifies to 6. So I have 5 equals 6 plus b. To get b by itself, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and I get b is equal to -1. So now that I know that my y-intercept is at 0, -1, I can go ahead and write my equation. Y equals 3/4 x minus 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at point-slope form. Point-slope form is if you know the slope m and a point x1, y1, you can write an equation. So for point-slope form, we have y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. So recognize that the y1 and the x1, well, the m is the slope, just like it was in y-intercept form, and the x1 and y1 is that point that we know. All right, so let's take a look at writing an equation in point-slope form for the line with the given slope and point. So my slope is 2/9 and my point is -1, 5. So for our strategy, first we want to write the generic point-slope form. Second, let's go ahead and fill in the blanks. Right. So first we have y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. So our blanks are where we have y1, m, and x1. So m is our slope, that's equal to 2/9. So 2/9 gets put into the box where m was. Now our point is -1, 5, so the y value of that point is 5. The x value of that point is -1. Now I want to go ahead and clean it up. If I take a look inside of the parentheses, I have x minus -1. Minus a negative becomes a positive, so in point slope form, I have y minus 5 equals 2/9 times the quantity of x plus 1. All right, let's go ahead and write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line with the given slope and point. So our slope is -2/7 and our point is 14, -3. So our strategy is to fill in the blanks, get rid of the fractions. We see that we have one with the slope. Distribute, and then get y by itself, because in slope-intercept form, we want y equals. All right, so starting off with point-slope form, we have y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. So my slope is negative 2/7, so that's going to go in the place of m. The y value of my point is negative 3, and the x value of my point is 14. Now I want to go ahead and clean up when necessary. So at the beginning I have y minus negative 3, minus a negative becomes a positive. So I get y plus 3 is equal to negative 2/7 times the quantity of x minus 14. So here we have the equation in point-slope form. Now to get it in slope-intercept form, I need to get rid of the parentheses, and I need to get y by itself. So in order to get rid of the parentheses and make this a little bit easier, let's get rid of the denominator of 7. I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 7. When I do so, I have to distribute the 7 on the left, and on the right, multiplying by 7 eliminates the denominator. So on the left, I have 7 times the quantity of y plus 3. On the right, I have negative 2 times the quantity of x minus 14. Once I distribute the 7 on the left and the negative 2 on the right, I get 7y plus 21 is equal to negative 2x plus 28. So remember that when I distribute that negative 2, I have to be careful with the negative sign. So negative 2 times positive x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 14 is positive 28. Now I want to go ahead and get y by itself. So I need to subtract 21 from both sides. When I do so, I get 7y is equal to 2x plus 7. Then I need to divide everything by 7. What I do to one side, I do to both sides, but not just both sides, I do it to every part of the equation. So I end up with y equals negative 2/7x plus 1. So if you take a look, in point-slope form, our slope is negative 2/7. In slope-intercept form, our slope is still negative 2/7. So we do get the same slope, which has its consistency. We do have the same line there. All right, next we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form from the line passing through 2 points. So our 2 points are negative 1, 2, and 4, negative 23. Our strategy here is going to be to find the slope, then choose one of the points and fill in the blanks. Then we're going to get y by itself. So our slope is the change in y over the change in x. If we think about rise over run, y is our vertical values, x is our horizontal values. So to go up or down, we're dealing with y. To go to the right or to the left, we're dealing with x. So I'm going to take y2 minus y1, which is negative 23, minus 2. Then I'm going to take x2 minus x1, which is 4 minus negative 1. Once I simplify my numerator and denominator, I get negative 25/5, which gets me a slope of negative 5. So now that I have a slope and choosing one of the points, I can write it in point-slope form. So y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. My slope is negative 5, so that's going to go inside the blank in front of the parentheses. The y value, I'm going to use the point negative 1, 2. So my y value is 2, my x value is negative 1. Let's go ahead and clean that up. So we get y minus 2 is equal to negative 5 times the quantity of x plus 1. All right, so now I want to go ahead and get y by itself. In order to do so, I need to eliminate the parentheses by distributing negative 5. So we have y minus 2 is equal to negative 5x minus 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 to both sides to get y by itself, and we get y is equal to negative 5x minus 3. All right. So for our last topic here, we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. The parallel symbol looks like this, and our perpendicular lines, the perpendicular symbol is an upside down capital letter T. So for parallel lines, it is 2 lines that will never meet. They have the same slope. So for example, if I have a slope of 3/4 and 3/4, I know that those 2 lines are parallel. For perpendicular lines, we have 2 lines that meet at a 90-degree angle. Here, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So for example, we have 3 over 4 and negative 4 over 3. So opposite refers to the sign. One is positive, one is negative. And the reciprocal refers to flipping the fraction. 3 over 4 compared to 4 over 3. All right, so let's take a look at writing an equation in slope-intercept form of a line that is parallel to the given line passing through the given point. So the line that we want to be parallel to is y equals 2x plus 3, and the point that we want to go through is 1, 7. So for our strategy, we want to find the slope of the line. Next, we want to find the parallel slope. Then we want to fill in the blanks and get y by itself. So in the line y equals 2x plus 3, I have to identify the slope. So if we think about y equals mx plus b, the slope is in front of x. So the number in front of x is 2. So my slope m is equal to 2. Parallel slopes are the same, so the parallel slope is also going to be 2. We're going to use the setup for point slope form. So we have y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. I know that my parallel slope is 2, and we're going to use the point 1, 7. So the y value is 7, the x value is 1. Let's go ahead and clean this up when necessary. It doesn't look like anything needs to be simplified. So we have y minus 7 is equal to 2 times the quantity of x minus 1. Let's distribute that 2. So we get y minus 7 is equal to 2x minus 2. Add 7 to both sides, and we get y equals 2x plus 5. Next, let's take a look at an example of a perpendicular line. So we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line that is perpendicular to the given line and passes through the given point. So the line that we want to be perpendicular to is 5x plus 2y equals 10, and we want to go through the point 3, negative 5. So our strategy is going to be to find the slope of the line, find the perpendicular slope, fill in the blanks, and then get y by itself. So our line is 5x plus 2y equals 10. So if I want to find the slope, I can put this line into slope-intercept form by getting y by itself. So the first step to get y by itself would be to subtract 5x from both sides. So I get 2y is equal to 10 minus 5x. To get y by itself now, I need to divide everything by 2. So we have y equals 5 minus 5 over 2x. So again, when I'm looking for the slope, it's always the value in front of x. So my slope is equal to negative 5 over 2. Now my perpendicular slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite from a negative is a positive, and the reciprocal would be 2 over 5. So my perpendicular slope is going to be 2 over 5. I'm going to set up point slope form. So we have y minus y1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x1. I know that my perpendicular slope is 2/5. The y value of my point is negative 5, and the x value of my point is 3. Let's go ahead and clean that up where we can. So at the beginning, we have y minus negative 5. That becomes y plus 5 is equal to 2/5 times the quantity of x minus 3. Again, we see a denominator, and it's easier to deal with whole numbers than it is fractions. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equations times 5. So I have to distribute 5 on the left, and on the right, when I multiply by 5, it eliminates the denominator. So on the left, I'm going to distribute 5. On the right, I'm going to distribute 2. On the left, we have 5y plus 25. On the right, we have 2x minus 6. In order to find slope-intercept form, I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides, and we get 5y is equal to 2x minus 31. Then I'm going to divide everything by 5, and I get y is equal to 2 over 5x minus 31 over 5. If you have any additional questions about any of the topics that we've gone over about graphing, please feel free to add your questions to the chalkboard on the lesson page of the website. You can also access more review videos by going to the resource tab on the website and clicking the video for the topic that you would like. Thank you.